I'm going to bed.
Finn announced, standing up from the dinner table and carrying his plate to the kitchen sink. He hadn't been to bed at this hour since elementary school.
Are you feeling well?
I'm feeling fine. I'm just going to bed early, if that's alright.
Have you finished your homework?
Yes, it's done. I stayed after for study hall.
You what?
She set down a bowl of mashed potatoes and crossed her arms.
Finn, you stayed after school to do your homework and now you're heading to bed at 7:15?
The night before last, his mother had received a call from her contact on the DHI team, asking if Finn had been to the Magic Kingdom lately. Finn had denied going, feeling awful about lying, but knowing she wouldn't believe him, she grounded him. Finn didn't even try to challenge her, and that had convinced her of his guilt.
If you're planning to sneak out...
No way! I'm not, I promise.
He stepped forward and kissed her.
Good night, Mom.
I'm going to check on you when your father gets home.
Okay, just don't wake me up. Please, I need a good night's sleep.
He checked his computer. No interesting email. He debated logging on to VMK and looking for Charlene, but instead he changed into his pajama and brushed his teeth, passing his mother in the hall on the way back from the bathroom. She wore her concern openly.
It's only 7:15. We could catch The Simpsons.
She'd trapped him. This was an offer he would never normally turn down.
I'm going to pass, Mom, but thanks.
It's a bad rule, making you get approval before going. A stupid rule, really. If you took a friend to the park, well, your father and I would understand how you wouldn't have wanted to tell us.
Finn had considered her olive branch.
Amanda. Her name's Amanda.
Relief spread across his mother's face. He feared she might hug him. She was smiling now, beaming.
Night, Mom.
She looked like she might cry.
I'll talk to your father.
Finn knew he wouldn't be grounded by morning. He shut his bedroom door. If he'd cross over into the park, he didn't want to be in his pajamas, so he changed back into jeans and a t-shirt. He lay there for 15 wakeful minutes with the lights out, checking the clock regularly. He tried to relax. Dusk played at the edges of his shades. It felt like the middle of the day. He cleared his mind, dozed off, and finally sank into a deep sleep. "You're learning," said the old man's voice from behind him. Finn turned to see Wayne, in khakis and a plaid shirt, sitting behind the wheel of an electric golf cart with the Walt Disney World logo painted on the front. The sky glowed faintly on the horizon. It took Finn a moment to register his location as somewhere in Frontierland, not far away from Tom Sawyer Island. "You just missed the fireworks display. Park just closed just a few minutes ago. I love this time of night, especially the music."
What music?
Finn didn't hear any music and realized he'd always heard music in the park. The old guy was a bit daffy. Finn reached out and grabbed the steel bar that supported the cart's awning. He saw his glowing hand wrapped around the metal, but could faintly see through his hand as well. Not only that, but the metal didn't exactly feel like metal.
This is so weird.
"Don't fight it."
This is probably the weirdest thing I've ever done. And I've done some weird stuff. This one time, a friend of mine and I found Charlene. I'm still trying to locate the others.
"It has to be all of you. You understand that, don't you? All or nothing. Youngsters your age. You always think it's all about you. Only you. You cannot do it alone. It has to be all of you.
I want to help you.
You have no choice. At some point, you'll understand that." Finn felt the words like drum beats in his chest.
What do you mean?
"You know what I mean."
I thought it was a dream at first.
"And now?"
Now I don't think so. I don't know exactly what it is if it isn't a dream. but I don't think it could be a dream. I saw the moon.
Wayne nodded and cocked his head curiously. Yet, something is bothering you.
You brought me back.
Did I? Not exactly. This is a two-way street, young man. You're neither a hologram nor human. You're something in between, I think. The holograms don't think for themselves. They speak only what you recorded for them. How much you are, one or the other, may depend on your thinking, what you're thinking, how you're thinking it. So I'd be careful of what I was thinking if I were you. Finn spotted a large gold bear by the entrance to the Jungle Cruise. He shook his head to clear his eyes since the bear was walking on 2 feet, and there was what looked like an oversized rat jogging to keep up with it.
Is that
What
Pooh and Piglet?
is it?
There.
I told you, didn't I? Wayne was quick to lose his patience. What are they doing?
Walking away from us.
Anything else?
You're kidding, right?
Finn felt like some kind of translator. I told you, things are actually happening in the park. We, you and your friends, actually need to stop them.
The Overtakers.
Yes.
It isn't safe.
No, it's not.
What's that mean exactly?
What did you think of the park as a small child?
Magic.
Finn said without a second thought. He still thought of it as magic. Exactly. But there are 2 sides to magic, yes? Good magic is what you're talking about. But there's other magic besides good magic.
Black magic.
A layman's term. But yes, a darker side to magic that few, if any, fully understand.
Do you?
Heavens no. But Walt did. He wrote about it. He made films, invented characters. He understood its seriousness, its potential for. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Potential for what? Evil?
Let's just put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. Finn climbed into the front seat of the golf cart. His feet disappeared. They weren't simply in shadow, they were gone. He felt a little faint.
My feet.
The hologram imaging system isn't set up to project to all locations. There are places we call shadows, like dead spots where cell phones don't work. Inside some attractions, they will be visible. You, the DHIs, will be visible. Other locations, maybe not. Your feet inside the cart, for instance, not so good. You may be able to control this. We don't know for sure. You're the first of your kind. Finn glanced down at his missing feet. It wasn't so bad. Okay.
Okay, I guess.
Wayne pressed the accelerator. The cart lurched forward.
Where did you get your license?
What license? Wayne answered, his eyes sparkling. 4 or 5 dark shadowy figures streaked across the intersection in front of the cart. Wayne didn't see them. Finn reached over and jerked the cart's steering wheel, narrowly averting an accident. Wayne braked to a stop.
You nearly paved those guys.
What guys? Finn couldn't complete the sentence. Wayne hadn't seen them.
Pirates. But not exactly pirates. They look more like robots. Like the lifelike pirates in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Finn realized that was it. They weren't people, but auto-animatronic figures that somehow had come alive.
Never mind.
A group of the figures were pushing a line of small blue cars ahead of them. Finn thought he recognized the cars, but couldn't associate them with any particular attraction. He was stuck on the idea that some of the AAs, but they were only machines, had come alive. Was that possible? How many?
5. No, 6. Including the guy with the hat.
Interesting. What guy with the hat?
You really can't see them?
Me? Heavens no. I can see the cars, but nothing else. And if you can see them, then maybe you can stop them. Or at least try to stop them.
Stop them from what exactly?
3 nights ago at the end of the Phantasmic show, the dragon set Mickey on fire. Obviously that wasn't supposed to happen. Mickey is supposed to win. He jumped into the water. He's alright. The crowd laughed. They didn't get it, but Mickey could have. He could have. He could have been in some serious trouble. And then what?
But those are actors, right?
The dragon is a machine, an auto-animatronics machine. But that machine malfunctioned, didn't it? It did something that it's not programmed to do. How is that possible? How can that be explained? Finn thought, what a strange man. You think I'm a strange old man.
Do not.
You're the chosen leader of the DHIs. Don't question it. Accept it. Without you, Finn, there is no plan.
What plan?
Finn gulped. Wayne seemed so serious all of a sudden. Finn sensed something behind him and to his right. He spun around and saw her, Charlene. His breath caught. She was glowing. A fuzzy light spurred at the edges of her body and all around her head, like a halo. She wore a white nightgown. Her hair danced in the wind. Some distance behind her stood Philby. He wore school clothes, like Finn. Finn recognized him immediately. They were missing, Maybach and Willa.
Hey there!
Finn turned. The pirate in the black hat was addressing him. Me? Finn's expression said, though he kept his mouth shut. What's happening? Don't get ahead of yourself. Charlene and Philby moved steadily closer. Wayne, appearing distraught, admonished Finn. You must not get ahead of yourself. Finn climbed out of the golf cart. Then concentrating, he walked through the cart to the other side. It's all about what I'm thinking, he realized. If I focus on being a DHI, I am nothing but light. A shimmering Charlene approached the tree. She tried to walk through it, but crashed into it instead.
How'd you do that? Why can't I do it?
Wayne seemed flustered. You all need more time. He glared at Finn. The harsh grinding of metal dragging on pavement interrupted them as the pirates pushed the line of blue cars. The one in the hat with the broad mustache and a thick Blackbeard hollered out.
Ahoy there, mate. Lend a hand, if you will.
Finn stayed where he was.
I said lend a hand.
Behind him, the more scruffy pirates, machines, pushed and dragged the blue cars. All of a sudden, Finn recognized them as cars from the Buzz Lightyear ride. He'd been on it dozens of times.
I'll pass, thank you.
Pass? I gave you an order, me boy. Now heave to.
An order? I don't think so.
Charlene stepped back and dragged Philby with her. They ducked behind the tree.
The name's Blackbeard.
His mouth moved like a puppet's. His arms and legs moved stiffly. His eyes mechanically shifted from the left to the right, their motion disconnected from his speech. Finn felt a spike of fear, but hid it.
Is that so? And I suppose I'm Jack Sparrow?
The captain stepped forward boldly, still a ways off.
Is you now?
The pirates stopped their pushing. They gathered behind their captain. Finn counted 6 in all. They were dressed in ill-fitting costumes. They had scars on their faces and scabs on their hairy legs. They went barefoot, wearing dark pants that stopped at their calves and wearing blue and white striped shirts. But they weren't human. Blackbeard drew his sword. His 6 pirates drew knives.
I said lend a hand. You're my conscript now, lad. I'd be obliged if you hove to.
You are not ready. I'd help you if I could see them, but I can't. Finn felt a jolt of terror, unsure what to do. His legs, wobbly and rigid, were unwilling to move. He'd figured he could run faster than a bunch of mechanical pirates, but wasn't sure he wanted to test that theory. Besides, he couldn't budge. Finn looked back. 4 glowing eyes, like cat eyes, shone from behind the tree. Charlene and Philby.
What are you doing with those cars?
You might say I'm borrowing them, laddie. Or you could say the Space Ranger spin is under repair.
He tilted his head and cast an evil eye in Finn's direction.
Oh, I've seen you before, Jack Sparrow. Now, where would that be?
I don't believe we've met.
He's one of them hosts, Cotton.
A smallish man with frog eyes called out. The man's right arm continually lifted up and down, up and down. This was apparently the motion he made in his role in the attraction, and he could not stop it.
A host? A new ride? Is that what you're telling me?
His pirates mumbled.
We don't care much for new rides. Don't care for much of them at all.
Do I look like a ride? I'm just a boy.
You're my boy now, ain't he, lads?
His pirates all nodded in chorus.
Now, be a good boy and lend us a hand.
I'd prefer not to. If you don't mind, I'll be on my way.
You don't turn your back on the captain, youngster. I said halt.
Finn stopped and glanced back over his shoulder. The captain signaled his crew and they reacted immediately. Like a bunch of well-trained dogs, they fanned out. They were not exactly fast on their mechanical legs and feet, but they were steady and worked well as a team. One of the pirates climbed into the Space Ranger car. He aimed its toy laser cannon at Finn and fired. A bright red pulse of light shot through the night, narrowly missing Finn. He'd ridden the Space Ranger spin himself dozens of times or more. He knew there was nothing to fear. He'd put his hand into the laser's light stream before. Nothing ever happened. The laser cannons were no more dangerous than a flashlight. Another thin red line of light flashed. Again, it missed. But then Finn realized the cars were not plugged in, were not attached to any ride, had no power source. So where did the electricity for the cannon come from? As if to answer him, the next pinpoint of light struck his arm. A red bead slickered on his shirt sleeve. The fabric instantly turned brown, then gray, then, ouch! It burned him. Finn leaped out of the way.
Hey!
He smelled burning hair, his skin. The laser was real. Another flash. Finn dodged out of the way. He avoided the next few attempts as well, the red beams flying past him like glowing arrows. He danced left and right, his arm stinging. Now the other pirates circled and closed in on Finn. Their knives extended. If a toy laser can burn, what is a very real-looking knife going to do? Wayne had warned him that he was half hologram, half human. Only now did he realize his human half could hurt. His wounded arm looked less transparent all of a sudden. He wondered if his fear made him more human than hologram. He pushed against the fear, as if he were trying to shut a heavy door. A gray-haired pirate with a peg leg. Thump, thump, thump. His way closer. The circle closed in on him. Now Finn could smell the pirates. Oily, like an old car, and faintly electric. Charlene called out to him from behind the tree. The captain raised his sword higher, trying to follow that voice.
Reinforcements, mate! Be ye ready!
2 of the younger pirates closed in on Finn. They walked stiffly and slowly, like 6-foot-tall toy soldiers. Finn circled to his right, away from them. He dodged 2 more attempts from the laser. One of the pirates was hit in the process. The captain raised his hand to stop the laser assault. The 2 young pirates, their knives glinted, pressed closer. The captain, with one knee cocked, his foot perched on the lead, thundered.
Well now, laddies, serve him up like a fine fillet.
Hey, dog breath!
It was Philby. He stepped out from behind the tree. All 6 pirates turned toward Philby at once. With the pirates' attention briefly diverted, Finn sprang for the nearest Space Ranger car. He grabbed hold of its laser, swiveled, and fired. A pulse of red light shot up. Finn was a veteran of Space Ranger spin. He winged the pirate in the car ahead of him, not 10 feet away. The pirate didn't seem to feel it. He was a machine. Another pirate charged. Finn shot his knee out, and the thing toppled over. It was one good leg moving, still trying to walk. Finn saw a difference between Blackbeard had a vaguely human sound to him. Most of the others, all but a few, looked and sounded more like machines than real pirates. Finn sliced and burned through the right peg leg of the older pirate. He too teetered, leaned, and tumbled over. 2 down. On the captain's command, his men charged as a unit. Finn aimed for their knees in a brilliant display of gunnery. They staggered. Several fell. The captain ordered a retreat, and Finn held his fire. Blackbeard, his eyes darting weirdly back and forth, reached for, but then decided against, the sword that hung at his waist. He clucked his tongue in disappointment.
You've made a terrible mistake, lad. Me advice for you is, go back for whence you came, and take them there other 2 with you, for your own good.
His mechanical facial expression never changed. He made no more threats. Not with Finn still perched behind the laser. He simply turned and walked away. He did not run, did not hurry, Finn noted. He headed down the path and a moment later was gone, out of sight. His pirates dragged themselves and their other fallen mates off with them. Finn released his hold on the laser, his fingers stiff from gripping so tightly. His shirt bore a small charred hole. The burn on his arm was now a blistered scab. He'd hoped he'd might have only imagined it, but no, it hurt something fierce. He climbed out of the car.
Way to go.
Philby approached, and Finn thanked him for the diversion. The 2 shook hands. It felt to Finn as if that handshake represented a pact between them. They were in this together now. To celebrate what he called their first victory, Wayne offered them ice cream bars from a food kiosk. He carried a heavy-looking ring with dozens of keys of all shapes and sizes with him, which he unlocked the kiosk. Finn sat down on a bench. Wayne handed him his ice cream sandwich, and Finn tore off the paper and bit into the treat. He tasted it, though it wasn't nearly as sweet as he thought it would have been. Maybe he was only half human, he thought.
What about Willow and Maybeck?
Finn devoured the ice cream sandwich. With his mouth full, he said,
No clue.
Me and Philby met here in the park the other night. We haven't found each other, on the outside yet. Not like the way you found me, but here we are.
Her mention of the outside sent shivers up Finn's spine.
I don't seem to remember as much as Charlene when I wake up. I'm not sure why. But I've never really remembered my dreams.
But this isn't a dream.
I know that now, but I didn't know that earlier.
This will all change. The more you cross over, the more it will feel familiar to you.
Cross over?
Weird, huh?
Wayne's hand slipped into his pocket.
No.
Finn called out, knowing the man intended to send him back to his bed.
You owe an explanation first.
I need you all together.
You have the 3 of us. That will have to do. If we're ever all together, then fine. You can explain it again. But I just got burned on my arm by a group of...
Pirates. Mechanical pirates.
Mechanical pirates that talk and take orders.
Yes, pirates. Pirates you can't see, as I understand it, and I don't understand it. And I'll stay up dusk till dawn if I have to, in order to figure this out. And if you don't tell us what this is about, you won't see me again.
Or mate.
Or me.
It's now or never.
The old man looked paler by a good deal. Some bird off in the thick of the green cooed deeply. Finn felt like they were being watched. All right, come with me. They followed. After a bit of a walk, Wayne unlocked and admitted them into the auditorium for the Country Bear Jamboree. He placed the 3 kids in the first row. Then he walked through the dark space and checked all the doors. He returned to the front of the hall, leaned against the stage to address them. There is a fine line between imagination and reality, An inventor dreams something up, and pretty soon, it's there on the table before him. A science fiction writer envisions another world, and then some probe finds it. If you believe in something strongly enough, I think you can make it happen.
That's a good thing.
But what if we believe in witches and villains? If we believe as strongly in a thing like them, can we make them happen?
You're giving me the creeps.
This park, this wonderful place, makes both sides happen, the good and the bad. Some of Walt's stories go back generations, hundreds of years. Cinderella, Snow White. We've seen similar stories in many different cultures across the globe. What if these stories were once true? If they were real, passed down from generation to generation? Different cultures experiencing similar things. And if they were real, are real, if the hero and the heroine go off to live happily ever after, then what happens to the villains, witches, sea monsters, and evil stepmothers?
You're saying that because the park makes them real, they are real.
I'm saying if you believe strongly enough, anything can happen. And millions of people, kids and adults, visit the park, all the parks, the cruise line, the Broadway shows, the website, Disney on Ice, every year. And they
believe.
In the bad and the good.
Exactly. Yes, they do. And there's power in that belief. So you know your own history. What is inevitable once evil gains power?
And once more, empires, wars, that kind of stuff.
We call them the Overtakers. Finn felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up.
Who?
We, the Imagineers I'm talking about, needed something mortal, something part, a hybrid that could cross over to the character world. That's what we call it, crossing over. We've suspected for years that characters come alive, if you will, once the gates are closed. We've had evidence of this for some time, but when the trouble started happening, we knew we needed you. Someone who could see the Overtakers, interact with them, stop them.
This is crazy.
Walt knew the time would come. The world gets out of balance. The dark forces rule. History is full of such times. They can last hundreds of years unchecked. It's like a plague, this dark thought. There's no music, no art, only tyranny and war. Madness.
I think I've heard enough. I'd like to wake up now, in my own bed.
You asked to hear this, so listen. The kids remain seated, their full attention on Wayne. As I said, Walt knew such a time would come. He left us a treasure map for a scavenger hunt. Something the Overtakers could not easily figure out, even if they obtained it, which they never have. Most of them are machines, you see. Audio animatronics and figures from attractions. Only a handful can think, can communicate, but they control the others.
The Stonecutter's quill.
Wayne had mentioned it the first time they'd met.
The what?
It's a fable, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We must wait for the others.
I, for one, am never coming back. So if you've got something to say, you'd better say it.
Think about it. The pirates, Maleficent, Cruella de Vil, Ursula, all with so much belief fueling them. Belief to draw upon. It was inevitable, I suppose.
What was inevitable?
Wayne didn't seem to hear her. And so many others, all in the same place at the same time, here in this park. The belief supporting them, making them stronger, making them real.
This has something to do with the fire-breathing dragon and Mickey and Phantasmic.
That's not the end of it. We have rides closed unexpectedly. The laser cars go missing. Costumes disappear. The parade route is changed, with no one the wiser. Small, harmless stuff so far, but for how long? Did you see the news? 100 padlocks were stolen from a hardware store. The security tape revealed nothing, showed no one inside the store. Mark my word, those padlocks were stolen. 1 minute on the shelf, the next minute missing. So how did that happen? How long until the rest of us can see them? How long until they can burn us the way they burned Finn tonight? What happens then? What happens when they realize there's a whole big world outside these park walls? What if they want to expand their empire? What then? He stopped. He was red-faced and breathing hard. Finn thought he looked a little sick.
Maybe you should sit down.
It wasn't until the hurricane that we realized how far this had come.
The hurricane.
A hurricane changed course while out at sea, and then headed directly here to Orlando. I'll accept that as a coincidence, a fluke of nature. But did you know what happened to that storm after it passed over here? Check it out on the internet. It lost power, came here at PME strength, and left considerably weaker. You think it just rained and blew itself out? We think not. We think that storm was harnessed, used as a giant battery, like a vampire sucking blood. The Overtakers used that storm to gain power. Since that storm, we've had a lot more unexplained inconveniences. They're practicing. They're getting ready for something bigger.
Are you listening to yourself? That can't be. That's crazy.
Some ancient civilizations are thought to have used powerful storms to control their people.
That hurricane was downgraded after passing over here.
I'd like to go home now.
Finn thought about it for a moment.
So, let's say we accept some of this. What are we supposed to do?
He knew he sounded terrified, but he couldn't help himself. You three and the others were carefully chosen for your individual talents. As DHIs, you're part of their world. As kids, you're part of ours. You are our eyes into the other side.
Spies?
If you'd like.
I don't like.
I don't see what we're supposed to do.
Sure you do, or you wouldn't be afraid. And while you're at it, think about this. Why and how do you think we came up with the concept of the DHIs?
Us being hosts? You're saying that wasn't the real reason?
They needed something that could exist in the character world, but wasn't part of it.
Aha, but the development costs. The time and energy it took to create you. We had to have a use for you to justify you to the rest of the company.
Because no one would believe you if you told them a bunch of witches were going to take over the Magic Kingdom.
And so we dreamed up the idea of the holograms, the interactive hosts.
You needed spies, someone to find out what the Overtaker.
Find out if they even existed.
And now that you know they do, now what?
We need to lure out their leader, whoever that turns out to be. Whatever that turns out to be. Deprogram it, redraw it, lock it up. Who knows?
You need us for bait?
Walt left us a solution. We need you to solve the riddle of the Stonecutter's quill. The old guy looked exhausted.
And what if we don't want to?
Wayne's mouth twisted, and his eyes looked stern and serious. At some point, you're going to have to sleep. And from now on, when you do, you're going to cross over. I'm sorry, my dear girl, but there is no skipping this ride.